Welcome to r/slash entitled parents, where an entitled woman tries to steal another woman's wedding. Part 1. My fiance and I have been together for 8 years and engaged for 3. I was doing my PhD program and was juggling planning the wedding. My fiance took much of that work, but it was perfect because our dream venue was booked till after my graduation. So what we did is book our dream venue 3 years in advance. It was a really beautiful venue. The only slot we got was September of this year. My sister got engaged a few months ago to her fiance. They were planning on having a spring wedding next year. They had no venue lined up, but had a few vendors lined up as well as a set date. Yesterday, our parents invited us and our significant others to a family barbecue where my sister announced to our extended family that she's expecting. Everyone was so happy for her and my brother-in-law, who's a great guy. My nan asked my sister if the wedding was still on the set date or if they were going to wait because of the baby. She said no, that she hoped to move it to September. No big deal. We don't have many out-of-town guests, so they could attend to both weddings no problem. Nan was happy and asked sister if she needed help planning such a short-notice wedding. My sister then turns around and said, "That's what I wanted to talk to you about. I was really hoping we could take your venue. I really cannot stress myself too much with planning a wedding while going to maternity classes, and I think it is so beautiful. It would really mean a lot to me." I went silent, but everyone was looking at me, expecting me to say, "Yes, of course, everything for my little sister." My brother-in-law looked very uncomfortable and told her that they talked about this and that it was not okay to put me on the spot. But my sister just said, "Don't be like that. My sister wants to do what's best for me, so it's no big deal, right?" I just said, "Well, it kind of is. I don't know. I have my heart really set on the venue." Cue the crying. She stormed off. Nan told me that I was being selfish because she needed the venue more than I did. I tried to defend myself and my mother said, "You waited 3 years. Would it have killed you to wait a few more months? When has your sister ever asked you for something?" A few comments later, my fiance got really mad and we left. My sister called me crying and said that it was unfair that I always get what I want and that I could have done this one thing for her. Dad said it's just a venue and what matters is the person who you're marrying. He's kind of right, but we've been planning for so long. My fiance is furious with my family and doesn't even want my sister to come. Now my family is threatening not to come because I'm being selfish and my sister needs it more than me because having a baby is too stressful. Part 2. My brother-in-law called me and apologized for the inconvenience. He told me he had discussed it with my sister and she had told him she wouldn't ask. He is properly mad with her now and warned me that my sister is blaming me for potentially ruining her marriage. My father sent me about 5 texts along the lines of, "I hope you're happy your sister hasn't stopped crying since yesterday," and so on and so on. My fiance and I have decided to boot my sister from the bridal party and replace her with my aunt, who is the only family member that took my side. We haven't decided whether or not we'll invite my family as a whole. Furthermore, my mom took it upon her to tell on us. She called the fiancés' parents and told them that it would be best if my sister gets it because she's pregnant, and preeclampsia runs in the family, whatever that means. My future father-in-law told them to F off and basically ripped my mom a new one for expecting something so ridiculous, and that they were going to lose me if they kept playing favorites. So my mom is now crying too and saying that my father-in-law is a butthole. This is just getting so pathetic. It seems straight out of a bad soap opera. My in-laws are driving to us currently with some supper and wine and basically told me not to worry and that no matter what happens, they'll be my safety net. I cried of happiness. Part 3. So it hasn't been that long, but this post blew up. I was expecting only a few answers, but the support was overwhelming. What boggled my mind is that this story flooded over to mainstream media. But let's get to the story. So since this went viral, a lot happened. My sister saw this story while browsing on her Reddit account. She lost her mind. She accused me of painting her like a loony and misinterpreting facts. Info: my sister got wind of the situation due to various media outlets and went on Reddit. She said that I was being unfair, that she's family, and that she asked it nicely because she loves me. She also underlines the fact that the opinion of internet strangers doesn't count because family is more important and I should focus on making my family happy. The only text I sent back was this: "I'm sorry that you perceived it that way. I did not in any manner distort what happened. As you might notice, I didn't describe your tone nor exaggerate anything. Perhaps you have that night different in your mind than I do, but I digress. I'm sick and tired of bending to your will. My whole life I've been your servant and your doormat. Remember all the birthdays I had to share with you because you would throw a tantrum because you didn't get presents? Or when you cried so that I would fill out job applications for you? But the thing that's hurt me most till now is when you ruined my graduation. I'm done. I admit that I also spoiled you, but I will not any longer. If you want to marry so bad before your baby's born, then you could look at Hotel X that offers last-minute weddings. I've spent too much time planning my wedding to gift it to you. And if you want to ruin our relationship over this, then go ahead. I will sleep safe and sound knowing that it wasn't my fault." She only sent me, "Wow, you must love me so very much," and blocked me. She unblocked me this morning to send me this. It's a screenshot of a conversation between the sister and her wedding planner. The wedding planner says, "Hello dear, I got the message from your mother and will proceed with the rebooking of the venue on the spot. However, this will have extra costs as we have to change the names on the contract. Please come by my office tomorrow so we can sign the new contract." And then my sister said, "That's great, I'll be there at 9. My parents haven't actually written me since the thing with my father-in-law. My older brother, yes, I have an older brother, but he lives in another city and wasn't at the barbecue. That's why I didn't mention him. Plus, he initially couldn't come to the wedding because of work and changed his plans after hearing about the story. My brother contacted me and wanted to know what happened because he got a weird story from mom and dad. My mom had told him that I'd offered previous to the barbecue to give up the venue to my sister and that I humiliated her. I told him what really happened, and he had no problem believing me. We talked a lot about our parents' behavior, and he confessed that him moving was partly due to our parents being, and I quote, "doo-doo hits to us." He told me that mom had gotten wind of the post and was mad at me for betraying my family. I haven't written to my parents what so many of you advised me to, because I've come to terms with the fact that they love my sister more than me, if they love me at all. We sat together and put passwords with the majority of our vendors and also with the venue directly. We hadn't talked to our planner yet, which is why the text of my sister worries me so much. Also, we canceled the catering that my parents paid for. So short term, we won't be able to get a full catering like we wanted to. But all our friends and my fiance's family will help us prepare a buffet, and everyone is going to chip in. That will be the bachelor party. As we'll have to spend more on our food now, we canceled our bachelor parties and we'll have a family and friends cooking session. Thank you again for helping me see how toxic my family is. I'll try to sort it out. If they apologize from the bottom of their heart, they'll be allowed into my wedding, but if not, then, well, I still have my brother, who will be walking me down the aisle, and my aunt. Part 4. We called my planner and she was actually really horrified. She told me she had never as much as talked to my mother since the day we went to book the venue. She assured me that even if they were to call and say that I wanted it, I had to be present to make any changes. So we informed everyone that will work for us on our wedding, and they offered to hire security for that day at a reduced price. And then, for more insanity from this nutso entitled sister, OP included the graduation story. This wasn't too long ago, so I remember it quite well. It was the day I delivered my thesis and presented it. A German tradition is that once you complete your PhD, you get one of those black graduation caps that have pictures, memes, and little toys that describe you best glued onto them. So I got one that I absolutely loved. One of the things glued on my cap were gummy worms because I would eat them constantly. We'd booked a little hall in the university to celebrate. My fiancé and friends had decorated it, provided coffee, snacks, drinks, etc. Also, my fiancé had crafted a beautiful cake. One of those that have a self-made marshmallow fondant and a color gradient that went from yellow to pink. Really beautiful cake. So eventually, after snacking, talking, and even dancing a bit, it was time for the speeches. My friends and my boss said how proud they were, etc., and then came my fiancé. He talked about all my accomplishments in my life up to this point. My sister absolutely lost it. I mean, she screamed and cried like I'd killed her cat. My mom was giving my boyfriend signs to stop his speech and went running towards my sister. My father was already kneeling beside her, calming her down. Everybody was kinda lost at this point. My mom came up to me and asked me to do a little speech mentioning the accomplishments of my sister and all that. I asked why. My mom told me about her being rejected from her master's program and that was the reason for her breakdown. I suppose I looked annoyed because my mom snapped and said, "You know what? Forget it." She then told my dad, who had managed to calm my sister down, to take her home. My dad took her by the arm and they started to walk out. And holy heck, as my sister noticed the cake, she lost it again, crying like a maniac, and then she smashed my effing cake. Everyone went silent. My dad dragged my sister out without so much as apologizing. My mom just muttered, "My poor baby." Then I started crying. My friends and fiance went to cheer me up, but my mom was texting dad to see if my sister was alright. She followed me to the bathroom and reprimanded me for not acting when I saw my sister crying. I told her that I was hurt by this. My mom just said that I had to understand my little sister because it was a hard time for her and that she didn't have a fancy graduation like me. She then left. We tried to keep the celebration, but it was not really possible. We went home early. When I went to look for my cap, I found that my gummy worm package that was glued to it had been ripped out. And I later found out that was my sister's doing because she was craving gummy worms. OP, that was insane to read. Our next Reddit post is from Ruby Loves Donuts. This happened a few days ago. I'd gone on my usual shopping with help from the staff, as the manager is a friend of my mother. They were dinner ladies in my old school and got along really well, became friends, and so I always asked the manager that if anyone's free, I would appreciate the help as I feel nervous being by myself due to my autism. Well, while I was shopping, an entitled mother kept trying to steal stuff from my trolley. I managed to catch the entitled mother a few times, and I asked why she was taking stuff I was buying. She said to this, "You can always get replacements. Stop whining." I started getting stressed and breaking down as the entitled mother starts ripping into me about my stutter. Here are a few of the things she said. "Stop talking. You're like a broken record. Are you R-word? You need help to talk? You're pathetic." I start sobbing and the manager is called over the radio. The Karen is told to leave me alone and that if she kept bothering me, she would be banned for harassing a disabled girl. Karen calls Teresa the N-word and a snitch and leaves. I managed to get myself together after Teresa and the manager helped me calm down. Teresa gets approval from the manager to run my trolley through to get my stuff on the shopping list. I always make a list before I get on the bus to the shop, while the manager kept me company at the customer service tills. Teresa came back after about 5 minutes and helped me run the items through the checkout, with the manager taking 10% off my total as a discount for not losing my temper at the entitled mother we encountered earlier. A taxi was called for me, and I waited outside in the parking area next to where the old Blockbuster used to be. I still miss that place. Teresa comes out to make sure I'm doing okay. My eyes were a bit puffy and my face a bit red. The entitled mother from earlier comes to the parking area, apparently waiting for her boyfriend, and spots me. "You!" she screeches in a pitch so bad my ears were ringing. "You little jerk! You caused me so much effing trouble tonight. I'm gonna F you up, R-word." What she forgot was that I was sitting/leaning on the edge of those pole things on the edge of the parking areas. As soon as I moved when she went to swing a kick at me, a crunch was heard. She broke her effing foot. I started laughing at how stupid she was for doing that, and Teresa scolded me, telling me that while it was a little bit funny, it wasn't the right time to laugh. The entitled mother is screaming for help and crying, "Assault!" An ambulance was called for her, and she screamed that she would see me in court. I started losing it a bit due to stress making my emotions go haywire, and I'm pulled away further down the parking area while she's treated to first aid while waiting for the ambulance. The ambulance takes her away, with police being called as well. The manager had shown police the CCTV footage of the parking area showing all I did was dodge her. The entitled mother tried kicking me. The police chuckled a bit and asked to talk to me. I got help to call my aunt, who we'll call Mandy, and she got the report from the manager. Mandy became my appropriate adult, I think it's called. She helped me answer questions when I struggled to get my words out. Police were done in about 10 minutes. Mandy offered to take me home instead of paying for a taxi. I felt guilty about the taxi, but said yes. I hugged the manager and climbed in the back of Mandy's car after loading my bags in the trunk. I love my Aunt Mandy. Also, manager, if you're reading this, thank you for taking care of me. I'm sorry you had to tell my mom what happened. Still, I hope you're doing great. Love you, Roxy. the top comment, help, my own foot assaulted me. That was r/entitled parents, and this is r/puppy bloopers. As you might notice, I didn't describe your tone. As you might notice, perhaps you have that night, dog. She told me she never had as much as talked to my. A German tradition is that once you complete your A German tradition is that once you complete your PhD, you get one of those black graduation caps. A German tradition is that once you complete your PhD, you get one of those black graduation caps that have pictures. My mom was giving my